Hello and welcome to C-Suite Middle East. I'm your host, Shane Phillips, and today we're talking with Geoffrey White, the Chief Executive Officer of Agility Africa. Agility is one of the largest logistics companies in the world with revenues of over 5 billion US dollars, and Africa is one of their most strategic geographies. Geoffrey, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Shane.
I always, when I look at leadership, one of the top things is communication, creating influence, getting a team to take ownership of strategy and the vision and getting them to execute. But when you start to move into emerging markets, you just have such a mosaic of cultures and ethnicities. And so, for example, even you and I, we both speak English, but if you say castle, I may envision a fort, and even the same words when we speak the same language make it difficult. And I think moving into these emerging markets make a tough job of leadership even harder. What's your experience dealing with these cross-cultural working teams, and what's your approach to creating ownership and getting people and getting that communication of the vision and strategy across?
Great. So I think what you need to do in emerging markets is you've got to empower people and trust in their ability to actually perform. And part of that is a huge amount of communication, whether it be conference calls or face-to-face meetings. Just people constantly need A, reassurance and understanding that they're on the right track, and B, support. The diaspora and the management across Africa is hugely keen to learn and develop and progress. So there's a massive appetite to absorb knowledge, to go off on courses, to advance their role in business. So I think that gives you a positive aspect whereby everybody's attitude is about moving forward and progressing.
What's your approach to motivation? Should people need to be motivated? Are good people already motivated? And what's the toolkit that you can use to drive the right behaviors?
So I think you identify people that are good, you then nurture them, you train them, and then they leave. And what I think you've got to do is actually be philosophical about that. I mean, if we've launched a management training program across Africa, and when we launched it, I was very clear in the philosophy of it that actually we're building capacity and skills transfer for people, and they won't all stay. Hopefully we'll get a proportion of them to stay, but if they leave, actually that's almost like a CSR project, because what you're doing is you're just building capacity across the continent, and those people who will become CEOs and leaders of corporations in their own right are your future customers. So if they all worked for Agility as part of their career progress, I think that's a dividend in itself.
Right, so you see it as a bit of a ownership piece, but at the same time, having that open source program puts a big onus for you to be a great employer. And I think one of the big trends now is creating employee ownership. What's your approach to that, and what are some of the things organizations can do to create employee ownership?
So I think there you get them aligned with your strategic goals and your profitability. You reward them accordingly. As Agility, we're very lucky as a company that we've got a global network of businesses. So I can pull staff out of Africa, take them into various locations around Agility, train them, teach them our culture and how we operate, but more importantly, introduce them to our customers' culture and what our customers are expecting. And then they come back to Africa to grow into being very strong local partners on the ground.
What about, it looks like that carrot and the stick thing, we're still using incentives. This is almost, if I think we went back 2,000 years, the incentive scheme really hasn't changed. And now you have things like Linux, for example, where you had proper professionals, highly skilled people working for free, creating softwares and different products which are actually used every day in business. And it really, I think, pokes a hole in, are we really understanding human motivation correctly? Are we really using the right toolkit to drive behavior? And almost feels like the systems we're using are a bit obsolete. How do you feel about the current management approach to driving behavior?
I think certainly within an African context, what the younger generation that have all been to university and are now coming into senior managerial roles, they're very focused on job satisfaction as opposed to just financial remuneration. So it's about delivering jobs that they feel fulfilled with, and actually jobs that practically make a difference on the ground.
Well, Geoffrey, thank you so much for joining us on C-Suite Middle East, and hopefully we can have you on again sometime soon.
Look forward to it.